Simon get good.
Wait! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Wait! No! Wait! Let's take them out silently. You fucker!
We've all played a co-op game at some point in our lives. Whether it be you and the boys blasting your way through the Halo campaigns, reaching the end of the map by working together in Left 4 Dead, or any of those Lego games. Co-op is always an absolute blast no matter which game you pick, and can lead to some funny memories with those that you play with. However, sometimes with co-op games, the co-op aspect can slowly fizzle away, and has left recent co-op games I've played just boring. Some gamers straight up ignore the co-op element altogether and go and do their own thing. Myself and my partner normally play the Lego games together, and always want to get 100% completion. But when we're in the open world collecting bricks, we go and do our own separate thing. It's only until we need each other to go to where the other one is that we break out into an argument about who's giving up their puzzle to help the other. Side note, it's usually me. So when we were going through our library and decided what games to play together next, we landed on A Way Out by Hazelight Studios and Joseph Ferres, aka the funny fuck the Oscars guy.
Fuck you!
I thought it would just be another one of those co-op games that we've played before, but boy was I wrong. A Way Out is not only an absolutely stellar co-op game with a great story and memorable characters to boot, but its smart gameplay, design and directing choices make it the best example of a co-op game done masterfully. I'm honestly surprised that not a lot of people on YouTube have talked about this game in great length. Apart from a review by Beat'emups, which is a good video by the way, check him out, not a lot of people have made detailed videos about this game. So I thought I'd fill that gap with my verdict on why I think that A Way Out is the absolute GOAT of co-op games. A Way Out does have a lot of familiar feeling aspects of a co-op game. You'll be working together to solve puzzles, finding out info from NPCs and progressing the story. However, the game has a lot of unique features that I haven't seen in any co-op game before. Firstly, this game has to be played in co-op. I mean, you can try and play it solo if you want, but you'll have to use 2 controllers, so good luck. The game achieves this co-op feature with the addition of split screen. Throughout the whole game, you and your partner can see each other's screens, and might be the only time where screen watching is actually allowed. You can use the other player's screen to work together and find out how to progress the game easily. If you're not sure where your partner is, and you need to get something from them, you can just look at their screen and work together in order to move on. There are moments, however, where the story is only focused on one player, and will sometimes have them solve puzzles alone. But the second player can still walk around and complete tasks or have fun with minigames scattered around the world. Or in my partner's case, have her character develop a smoking habit. Whilst we're on the topic of minigames, each chapter of the story has their own little activity for you to take part in. If you played any Rockstar game in the past 15 years, then you'll feel right at home with these. I mean, you can do all sorts. You can do pull-ups, play darts, arm wrestle, play the banjo and piano together in a fun hidden cutscene, relive your childhood memories with the Gamer-Pinion 4, and my personal favourite, wheelchair wheelies. While some gamers could just consider these filler, I think they're actually really fun to do, and that's due to the game's encouragement to do them all together. It accomplishes this with a scoreboard at the top of every activity. I mean, there were times where we would stop what we're doing and let our competitive side out for a couple of minutes. And you know what? It was an absolute blast. We would honestly get so engrossed in these minigames that we actually forgot what we were doing at the location we were in the first place. We had a lot of fun playing Connect 4 that we completely forgot that we were at a hospital seeing one of our characters' wives. Now I know that some of you might see this as immersion breaking, but I think it just adds a lot of charm to the world. There's just something so funny about 2 wanted men sitting down in a hospital lobby playing the game of Connect 4 when they know that the police are right behind them. But the most important aspect of the game is the teamwork, and the game encourages it at every possible step. No matter what situation you both find yourselves in, the only way you can move forward is if you work together. You can't just run it solo. Certain puzzles require one player to help the other get to an area that only one of them can access, or in some cases, require both of them to unlock the next area by timing a button prompt. For example, in one section I had a chisel that we needed to use to escape, but I couldn't get it through the metal detector. My partner had to go through the detector and take the chisel from me through an open window and back to her cell, whilst I could finally go through. I really love how this game treats co-op as a necessity and not an option to players. Every single situation you encounter requires some form of teamwork in one way or another, and we found ourselves communicating with each other at every puzzle we encountered. Even when the game strangely turned into a third-person shooter towards the end, the teamwork element is still there, with someone high up with a sniper rifle and the other player on the ground. But Mr. Gamer-Pinion, sir, what if my friend can't buy the game? We won't be able to play it together. Well, my friend, allow me to introduce you to the Friends Pass, where your friend can play for the grand old price of $3.99.
You what?
Yep, you heard me right, only one player has to purchase the game, and the second player can join the game for free, which is a massive WTF moment considering EA were the publisher of this game. And I mean, we all know how money hungry they can be.
We want all the profit.
The only downside is that the second player doesn't get any achievements or trophies. But if you don't care about that, then this is an amazing addition.
Who's laughing now?
But what about the story, I hear you say? Well, let me tell you about it, because I've got a lot to say. A Way Out sees you take on the role of two criminals serving time in what looks like Shawshank Prison. You have Leo, a smart-mouthed hothead with sideburns that would make Wolverine jealous, and Vincent, a reserved and rational thinker, who I thought sounded a lot like Sam from Mafia. Both of them have been screwed over by the same guy, some bloke called Harvey, and want to get out of prison to enact their revenge. For Leo, he wants to get back at Harvey for betraying him and keeping him away from his wife and son. And for Vincent, he wants to kill Harvey for murdering his brother. After realising they have a common goal, the two men set about to escape the prison and get their revenge on the man that put them there. At the heart of this story is the relationship between Leo and Vincent. At first there's a reluctance to help each other escape, but once the two understand that they share the same interests, they agree to work together. These two bounce off each other really well. Leo is short-tempered and is more hasty when making decisions, but is balanced out by Vincent, who thinks more rationally and looks to find a simpler solution. On the flip side, Vincent can come across as too soft and can't push himself to the extremes that Leo can, which is when the latter steps in to help. In my opinion, characters like these work so incredibly well. They're not simply black and white and have more layers to them than meets the eye. As the game goes on, and their trust in each other grows, they start to open up more about their past, loved ones, and goals, which makes them more human as a result. Honestly, I think these two might be up there with some of the greatest video game characters of all time. I mean, I'm talking the likes of Joel and Ellie, Arthur Morgan, Kratos, and more. Whenever these two were on screen, which is all of the time now I think about it, I was glued to my seat and listening so attentively because I cared about these two. But Leo and Vincent aren't the only memorable characters in this game. You also have a huge amount of side characters. Linda is the wife that I think all guys wish they had. She's tough, but caring to those closest to her. She also isn't afraid to speak up to Leo when something needs to be done, like speaking to his traumatized kid, for example. Speaking of his kid, Alex is the glue that holds Leo together and isn't nearly as annoying as other kids in games. I'm looking at you, Sean in Heavy Rain.
Mom would never put me to bed without Teddy. Why are you
Shut
being
up!
like that?
Shut up! I'll fucking take care of you later! Shut up!
Then on Vincent's side there's Carol, who is the opposite of Linda, but in a good way. There's some conflict between the two relating to Vincent's past, and you can tell that it's not been fully resolved. However, I got the feeling that there's still some element of love between them that can maybe come back. The main villain Harvey is a different story and is probably the character I have the most to say about despite knowing nothing about him. Even though he has ties to both protagonists and a few scenes focusing on him and him alone, I didn't feel the same level of hatred that Leo and Vincent felt towards him. Yes, he does some horrible stuff, but I do wish that there was more to establish who exactly he is, instead of just having him be a MacGuffin. So it seems like a pretty straightforward story, right? Two guys got screwed over by the same dude and want to go and kill him whilst also being with their families. Well, you would think that until you get to the ending. Oh my god, the ending. I've debated whether or not to go in depth with why this ending is perfect from all points that we've discussed so far. And you know what? I'm going to do just that. So if you don't want to know what happens, and I advise you play the game first before watching this section, then please skip to this time code on screen. Okay? Got it? Cool. 3, 2, 1. Let's go! So after killing Harvey in Mexico, you land back in America and are surrounded by police. It seems like all hope is lost and you're both going back to jail. Well, one of you is at least. It's revealed that all this time, Vincent was an undercover cop who was simply using Leo as a means to get back at Harvey and recover what was stolen. You see, Leo and Harvey were planning to exchange this diamond for cash, but for some reason, Harvey shot and killed the guy they were meeting and took off with the goods, leaving Leo to be incarcerated. The guy Harvey shot turns out to be Vincent's brother, who Vincent brought in to assist with this sting. Racked with guilt and desperate for revenge, Vincent agrees to go undercover to track Harvey and recover the diamond, thus starting off the events of the entire game. As someone who was playing as Leo, this was mind-blowing. The person who you put your trust in, who you agreed to help get revenge on the man who put you away, who you invited into your home to meet your family, was actually using you the whole time. But what happened next took this to a whole new level. In a desperate attempt to regain control of the situation, Leo takes Vincent hostage, but it doesn't last long and he's back on the run. For the next 10 to 15 minutes, you are both actively working against each other. Where you were once working together to reach a common goal, you both now have to fight each other to stay alive. When we got to this part, I couldn't believe what I was experiencing. This whole game, you needed each other to progress, and now that same person that you once called friend is now your enemy. It was so well done. I was in awe the whole time. It all culminates in this final fight where both of you have health bars and must obviously drain the others to win. After a couple of bullets and punches exchanged, it all comes down to the two of you, a gun, and how quickly you can mash a button. Whoever gets to the gun first, you have to make the devastating choice of pulling the trigger, killing the other. There is no way to save them both. You can't just refuse to shoot as well. I mean, you could turn off the game and uninstall it to save yourself the pain, but you're not a pussy, right?
I'm not a fucking pussy.
Whoever does manage to win in the end, it doesn't feel like a victory. You have to watch the other die slowly with one last acknowledgement to each other before it's all over. And oh my god, can I just say how this simple direction choice of going from split screen to then full screen after the character dies is just amazing. It's just so fucking good. Whoever ends up dying and surviving, you get two different endings. With Vincent, he retires from the police and rekindles his relationship with Carol and their newborn baby. All the while, Linda and Alex mourn Leo's death at his grave. If Leo survives, you take a letter that Vincent wrote to Carol where she reads an apology from him. Leo, Linda and Alex all travel out of town to start a new life, whilst the regretful Carol attends Vincent's funeral. However the game ends for you, there is no happy ending. Sure, the surviving character does get some element of happiness, but at what cost? You still had to gun down what you may consider to be your brother. It doesn't matter who got to the gun first, the trigger still had to be pulled. I was so scared that the ending would be a disappointment, but it was far from that. It's gut-wrenching, emotional, dramatic, bittersweet, and I absolutely loved it. A Way Out is not only a fantastic game about teamwork, brotherhood and tragedy, but one of the most original games I've ever played. The unique features the devs implemented allow the co-op element to flourish in ways I've never seen before. The story also offers up some memorable characters, exciting set pieces, emotional moments that can make even the most hardest of gamers tear up, especially that soul-crushing ending, and two protagonists who I will remember as some of the greats. Each part of this game is so lovingly crafted and well directed that I can wholeheartedly say that it's one of the best video games I've ever played. Please, if you haven't given this game a try, do so. The journey you'll go on with Leo, Vincent, and your co-op partner is a joyride from start to finish, and you won't be disappointed. After this, I can confidently say that Hazelight and Joseph Ferris are now some of the best creatives working in this industry today, and I will definitely be there for the next one.
And the 2021 Game of the Year is... It Takes Two.
Well, I mean, I gotta check this out now.